what is your story around managing that? And let's just get right to it with the conversation of patriarchal belief systems and even misogyny as a female leader of the Episcopalian Church.
Right. Well, interesting whole subject and where to start. First of all, I'd start with my father, who was an early adopter of feminism. He would not let me take...
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast show, Mindset Reset with Lisa J. I am thrilled with our guest today. We have Pastor Cindy on our conversation today. Welcome, Pastor Cindy, Reverend Cindy.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
It's a thrill to have you here. Wow, a female priest.
Yes.
So the conversation today is going to be remarkable for all of us, especially for me, I feel, because I'm going to just open this interview with what happened with Cindy and I when we were chatting on the phone 2 months ago, and I was asking her to be a guest on my podcast show as a wonderful, powerful female priest at St. James the Great in Newport Beach, California. My dad started yelling at me while Reverend Cindy and I were on the phone. And my dad was yelling, "Lisa, get in the car, get in the car." How embarrassing. And I was on the phone with Reverend Cindy. And then I said to her, "This is why I want you on our podcast, because I love my dad, and my dad's a good man. And my dad has patriarchal belief systems. There's a tendency of misogyny still there in my beautiful, wonderful 88-year-old father."
Well, interesting whole subject and where to start. First of all, I'd start with my father, who was an early adopter of feminism. He would not let me take typing, home ec, sewing, anything in school. He had me take wood shop, auto shop, metal shop, and drafting. He said no daughter of his was going to be a secretary. And so I have to thank my father for that. And then he took me aside and gave me kind of the rules of engagement with, being a professional businesswoman. And I was in the corporate world, very heavy Fortune 100 corporate world. So I think he was a very big, tall presence in my life. But also, I just had a sense that no one would ever speak down to me. No one would ever take advantage of me. It was very apparent that people came to me a lot with their stories. And you have to realize, too, in the Episcopal Church, well, actually clergy worldwide, there's only 15% are female clergy. So it's still patriarchal, entity, the church also, which, I'm trying to change in my small way, kind of walk that walk for my small life, and basically take the bull by the horns and say, this is me, and I think it's important to stand up to power and to be brave, and to just basically own it. Own the fact that you will be called names, you will be called all the things that, we see strong women called, but you have to kind of be like a duck, water on their back. You can't bend. And so I think I help a lot of people find their strength, men and women, honestly. And I think just to maybe hopefully answer your question, most people just need to be heard and then told that they've got this, and that basically to rely on their instincts. Now, if those instincts are, hurt and damaged, then we have to help people be strong and build them up instead of tearing them down. But anyway, your phone call with your dad cracked me up, because I just thought it was like, it's nothing. Believe me, it's lightweight compared to what I've heard and gone through. It's it didn't even really cross my mind. So.
Okay, good. Yeah, I can only imagine what you've heard, who you've helped, and the depth of the human experience that you manage and deal with on a daily basis.
Believe me, yeah, that was nothing. So I'm sorry you felt that way. I didn't even I would just like, let me get you off the phone so you can go do what you need to do. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, so good. I want to unreel what you just said a little bit. Go back to your childhood. Did you know at the time that you had a special father? Did you know? Did you understand? Was it comparable with your other girlfriends that your dad was different and he raised you quite special as a female and a strong woman?
It's a good question. I don't think I did. I think, as any kid, you just take what you've been given.
Yeah.
And my friends, seemed to be normal. And but my father was kind of like a Renaissance man. So, he was a sociologist, professor of sociology. He was a master carpenter. He was an Air Force pilot in World War II. So he was a fighter pilot. And, he just kind of took the assumption that I was going to be a strong woman. It wasn't a matter of if I was going to college, it's where are you going to college? So there was just this, I think he naturally built up. And I think he always said to me, you're a leader, you need to, understand that. I also think being a tall blonde, you're noticed when you walk in the room, you have to carry yourself because people have expectations. I was accused of being aloof a lot, but it was more like a lot of stares when you walk in the room. And so I would just kind of put up my shields, you know what I mean? You just kind of up shields up, And what I kind of now do is like just assess the room and see what I need to do, but there's a lot of expectation. And certainly as a clergy person, there's a real different type of expectation. If they even know what you are, because sometimes they think you're a nun, or are you the religious, or are you something, So.
Well, let's get into that. So how did that calling happen for you? And walk us through that journey when you knew, wow, I know your background is art, architecture, and wow, the background that your father was the example for. Tell us a little bit about your career choice. And it is a career as well as a calling, isn't it, Cindy?
Yeah, I think I would call it first a call, and I knew when I was 8 years old. Now, and of course, an 8-year-old doesn't know what to do with that. But if in times of reflection and meditation, definitely was there when I was 8. I had a strong presence of God. Like butterflies would light on my shoulder, and everyone would joke about it. But I had a next door neighbor who was a missionary to Africa, and she just taught me about the work of Christ, and I felt really called. I remember being in the backyard knowing that I was called, but I didn't know what to do with it. Didn't really talk to my parents about it, but was pretty devoted to going to church. We were a church-going family. And I just absorbed as much as I could and kept it in my heart as a secret. Like Mary, you just keep everything in your heart and ponder it. And then, I got into high school and college, and I still felt that kind of like call, but I wanted to bury it. I ran from it. Women's ordination was kind of just getting started in the Episcopal Church. We just celebrated 50 years of female ordination, which is huge, right?
Only 50 years. So let's see, that would be 1974?
Around then.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it was just not on my radar. But what was interesting is that my pastor came to me and said, would you be on the architectural team at the church? And then another pastor came to me, and I was getting my contractor's license, and said, would you build me a church? And then that kind of unfolded, and I started specializing in designing and building churches, religious spaces, synagogues. I even did a Hare Krishna, Mennonite, you name it, non-denominational. And with that, about halfway through that career, I also had a career in the corporate world and then went into my own company. But halfway through the ministry of building churches, God just started really kind of speaking to me heavily. And I went into spiritual direction, which is something the Episcopal Church, kind of tell you, okay, if you're feeling called, you should get some spiritual direction from an expert. And then about 5 years of that,
Wow.
my spiritual director turned to me. I remember it being Christmas time. She goes, "When are you going to address this?" And she goes, "Just enter the program. They will, guide you." And sort of like you, Lisa, when are you going to write the book?
Yeah. How many times have I said that to you?
Maybe 5 years from now. Anyway, I just went to my priest and said, "Okay, I'm having these feelings, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what to do with them." And he just looked at me and tilted his head. He goes, "We've been waiting for you." And so then he said, "Why don't you enter the program?" And it's a lengthy program in the Episcopal Church. I have a lot of respect for anyone who wears a collar. About a 10-year process. You have to go through discernment with your own church, discernment with another church. You have to, go through many committee members, approval at the diocesan level. You go to the seminary, then you hopefully get ordained, and then you're a curate, which means you go be an assistant priest somewhere, and then you get your, official church. But I turned out to be a working priest for several years. My bishop wanted me to continue building and doing church work. And then one day he called me and said, "Hey, St. James, I think you ought to look at it." And here I am. But it is a long process. So from 8-year-old, this is a clamshell, which is St. James, right?
Julie Green gifted it to me, and it just means so much to me because that's how I know you, Reverend Cindy, is through Julie Green, and she's on the Camino right now.
Right,
James,
right.
great. And this is your, would you call it a logo? What do you call it? I'm a businesswoman, sorry. What do you call that?
Okay, well, I'll give you a 2-minute. You can cut this if you want. But basically, St. James was first to be called as a disciple, first to be martyred. And he was martyred by Herod Agrippa, and he was killed by the sword. He was beheaded. And legend has it that he was in another part of the world, and they put his body on a ship, and they, wrapped it up, put it on a ship, and there was a big storm, and his body fell off the ship and landed in Iberia, which is Spain, and it was covered with shells for protection, the body. So that became the emblem of St. James, is the clam shell. And then the I'll show you real quick, the logo for St. James, this cross right here. He was killed by the sword. So this is a very traditional St. James cross, through universal kind of language of a St. James church. And then you see the clamshell. So that's just church world iconography for you. But the shell is planted along the way of the Camino as a guidepost. They're embedded in the paths. So that's the legend of St. James, is that he was covered with shells when his body washed up on the shore of Spain.
Fantastic. I didn't know that. That's such a beautiful parable, but also truth, right? Because historically that's been proven. Julie Green shared that with me. I want to jump into 2 mindset shifts that you taught our audience. You didn't even know you did that, but you did. Here's the first mindset shift. I want our audience, our listeners, to give themselves permission that they don't have to speak every thought. They don't have to. You can have your own thoughts, and you can nourish those thoughts. You can question those thoughts. You can entertain those thoughts, and you can be in your own dreams and your own thoughts. Cindy, you shared that you had these thoughts, you had this calling, you had this vision, and you didn't share it with others, and that's okay. We don't have to speak every thought we have. Could you share with us a little bit about how can we give our listeners permission that they can just be with it in the morning when you meditate and you have your God time or just your alignment time? Relish your own thoughts. Don't share everything with everyone. It's your own soul. It's your own experience of yourself. Could you share a little bit about that more in giving our listeners permission to sacred thoughts? Sacred thoughts.
I think that's really important, that especially in our society today, is people are really into judging and knocking down, or it's not right now, in my opinion, a real building up society. So I think if you have these thoughts or dreams or aspirations, my whole thing is I always journaled, and I wrote them down, or I would process them in a quiet time. And I think that I found that it was more wisdom to process things on my own first before I shared them. And I think that even if something happens, my staff knows this too. I'll say to them, I need to sleep on it. I'm not making a decision today. I'll sleep on it. And in the morning, it comes. If you have that faith that, between you and God or your dreams, that giving it space and time, it will birth. It's just like the birth of a child. No one's talking down there, you got to do this, you got to do that, but it's allowing the space and the time to process things, and don't rush in. Sometimes you have to rush in. I mean, if you're, have deadlines and whatnot. But I think people don't listen to their gut enough, which I would call your spirit.
Yeah.
You're not listening to your spirit enough, so.
Okay, so let's give our audience permission right now. Everyone who's hearing my voices, give yourself permission to enjoy and relish these sacred thoughts that you have, these sacred dreams. You don't have to rush out and tell other people. Just
I think a model for that is Mary, when she found out she was pregnant, she pondered these things in her heart. And I think if whatever spirituality you practice or whatever faith you practice, I think that here you had a huge thing happen to her, and she just needed space and time to process it. And we kind of skip over that even in the church. And she had this monumental announcement, even if it's you think it's metaphorical. I think most of us don't give our dreams enough time.
Say that again.
We don't give enough time. We don't give enough time to our dreams. Yeah. So
our dreams matter. They were gifted to us by Source. I truly believe that, Cindy. They were gifted to us by Source. And when you receive a gift, you take time to tear open the package, right? Unless you're a kid on Christmas morning. But just as a mature woman, a mature man, a mature force, you just take time to relish your dreams, to be in the presence of the dreams. They are sacred. And I don't know, I'm just so moved by that, because I've seen the results from me taking the time every morning to just be with my thoughts and my dreams and my visions. And I'm sitting in one right now. I mean, this is the retreat center that Jeff and I looked for 14 months. We made 3 different offers and lost all 3. And then this one we found just 6 weeks ago and closed like that. The timing was right. The retreat center was perfect. And here we are, this retreat center for my authors to write their books in with these epic mountain views.
Right.
And so I understand this, the importance of relishing the dream time and the thoughts and just seeing that as a sacred experience. Dream setting, goal setting.
When things don't work out, I always feel like, well, there's a better plan.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of my mantra my whole life. Then there's a better plan. As much as I may be disappointed that we're all born with a call on our life, it's not necessarily, being clergy or doing books, but we all have something, an existential call. And I think that it gets buried and people forget, and it's usually in their childhood dreams, and then they have to uncover it. And I think when things don't work out, you've got to go back, square one, what happened, where am I at? But I always feel like there's always a better plan if something doesn't work out.
Yes. And that leads us to mindset reset shift number 2 that you didn't even know you taught. And that is this. Your Dharma, this is for our audience, your Dharma, which is also called your calling, your purpose, the divine will over your life, you can't miss it. It's going to find you. I don't care if it knocks you over the head or it just blossoms easily and beautifully, as it sounded like yours did, Cindy. But you're not going to miss it. It's going to happen. You can't outrun it. You can't outchase it, right? And so you shared that you had this calling in your heart and you didn't share it a lot, and it found you.
Right.
To the point where that pastor said to you, "We've been waiting for you." Before even he said that, "We've been waiting for you, Cindy." Even before he said that, opportunities as your skill in architecture, with your skill in design, with your skill in art, you were asked to take on these projects to design these peaceful environments for churches and sacred places. Like, you can't lose. You can't outrun your purpose in life. It will find you. So can we just give our listeners permission to stop creating unnecessary drama or turmoil? You're on course. It's okay. You're on point. It's okay. Relax a little bit. It will find you. It's finding you. You're getting nudges. Stop making yourself wrong for feeling you're not there yet, or I'm 26 and it hasn't happened yet. I just enrolled a beautiful client, Cindy, in our authors program. Her name's Amelia, and she's in her mid to latter 20s. I'm not great with age, but I think mid to latter 20s. She's a professional organizer, and she just feels like she's had this calling forever to write this book, helping people in organization, mental organization, spatial organization. And she just felt like she's been off. She's not off. It all happened in perfect timing. It wasn't supposed to happen 4 years ago, 4 months ago, 4 days ago. So could you speak to that a little bit about giving our listeners permission with a mindset reset shift? They're on course, even when it doesn't feel like it. They can't outrun their purpose. It will find them.
Oh, wow. Yeah. First of all, it's never too late. I don't care if you're 90. And everything you've done up until this moment has been sacred. Whether you think the negative or the positive or the horrible or the wonderful, you have learned from it. And not all of us, have this perfect life or have the opportunity, but God is in the midst, spirit, whatever you want to call it. And I think the aspect of what you're talking about to me is important, that we don't discount those nudges or the spirit calling you into the center. I have a test when I call it an incoming. It's something that I'm being prompted to do. And if it happens 3 times, I'm on high alert. And people always say, "Oh my gosh, you called it the perfect time." Or, "I can't believe you knew that I needed to hear from you." But if you start listening to that still small voice, you'd be amazed. So, for instance, I've had brushing my teeth or whatever, I'll feel like, "Oh, yeah, I should call so-and-so." And then it gets to be a harder impression during the day. And then maybe that night, it's all calling me, "Oh my gosh, this is what happened." So they call it the Voorhees vortex. I don't know. It's kind of funny, but I think
vortex. Yes.
I think everyone has it.
Yes, everyone has it.
I think we just ignore it. And I always tell people, you have it. You just have to be sensitized. You can't be wrapped up in, always, sure, we got to go grocery shopping. We have to do all our stuff. But we have to take time to center. And those incomings do come. They come if you can quiet your mind. Understand that no one's life is perfect. I look across the church and across the pews, and no family is unscathed in life, and realize that we're just on this journey, and we're supposed to be helping each other, and we're supposed to be, doing good, helping each other be fully human. And I think the nudges, as you call the spirit, is to make us, is to bring us along, no matter where we are. It's never too late.
love that language too, incoming. I'm going to receive incomings today. Incoming. These are the nudges from source, the incoming. And then you said the number 3, I like that too. So you'll get an incoming, a nudge, and then maybe fluff it off. And then the second one, but by the third incoming or specific nudge, you're like, okay, I heard you. I'll be obedient, or yes, I'll complete this, or yes, I'll make that phone call.
And it gets stronger each nudge. That's what I've paid attention to. It's kind of like, focus, I'm telling you right now, you need to call that person. And now, you know, by the third time, it's like pretty loud. So that's what I've, you know, practiced, and people just say, wow, but you know, it's like you feel something happen to a loved one, stop and acknowledge that and maybe call them. But those are the spirits nudging. Those are real.
And may I say, it's for business too. In my business, you guys, I can't tell you how many times I've been placed at the right place at the right time to get a speaking engagement, to meet you, to help my followers and the audience of my podcast show. Like, I'm just always put in the right place at the right time, because I believe I'm placed at the right place at the right time. It helps me in my business. It helps me with my relationships. It has saved my marriage many times, these incomings. And so, wow, we give you guys permission, the audience, to acknowledge your incomings, to get quiet with your thoughts and these incomings, but then also they're happening right now. Like, what did you just notice right now in our conversation with Cindy and Lisa J? An incoming just planted right there in your thought, in your heart. What was it? Jot it down. And right when we're done with this interview, complete that incoming. I call it just obey inspired action. Obey inspired action. So much is happening for us, right, Reverend Cindy? So much is happening for us. If we're just these open vessels that say, okay, yes, I'm willing, use me. Yes, I'll obey that nudge. Yes, I'll complete that incoming.
Right, and I would like to, kind of affirm what you're saying. It works in business, it works in your family relationships, it works with strangers in the store, it works with, wherever you are. It's being kind, it's looking people in the eyes, maybe amazed what you can draw in from your fellow human beings. I also think that we need a lot of kindness right now, and I think that wherever you are, just smiling and giving people eye contact is so important right now. Mm-hmm. And I think if you just start there, oh my gosh, you'll be amazed at how affirming it is that you too will feel human. Instead of, I think we're all caught up in, I went to the doctor's office the other day and everyone was on their phone. And I thought, this wouldn't have happened 20 years ago. We would have been staring at each other. Hey, how are you doing? Nice day, But we're looking down instead of up. And I keep thinking, I'm kind of a conversation piece when I walk anywhere with a collar on. So it's a little easier for me, but I think if you, are friendly and kind to people, they'll talk to you. And then you never know the connections you'll make.
That's good. Mm-hmm.
So I think it's, again, like you say, opening up your world to a bigger world. There's just a bigger, I think we close in and we got to remember that we're all part of a universal family.
Yeah, truly. I mean, I don't want to get nerdy here, but boy, have I been studying quantum mechanics over the last 18 months. And there is scientific proof to what you and I are discussing right now. Exactly. Scientific proof of the unified field, and even alternate universes that we can tap into through our thoughts and focusing those thoughts and actually creating reality. It's a nerdy conversation in the quantum realm, but I love the quantum, because the actual definition of quantum mechanics is the study of the invisible. So my language that I tell my engineer husband is, it's the study of God. Finally, we have a science that proves God. And he's like, oh, Lisa, that's not quantum mechanics. Oh, yes, it is, Jeff Johnston. Yes, it is. The definition is the the study of the invisible, the study of the very small. But now that we have these high-powered microscopes, we can actually study what was once invisible. And they're not even Newtonian physics. We can't even follow Newtonian science in the quantum realm. It's a whole brand new science that we're learning in the quantum. And I'm telling you, Cindy, when I read about quantum mechanics, I find it in scripture.
Welcome to my world, first of all.
Tell us.
And I'm rather a tech nerd myself, so I've embraced technology in the church, and I do all kinds with AI. But I think, that's it. Always kind of comes down to your spiritual being, right? Your soul. And you've been talking about your soul and soul care and how you take care of that. And I think I want to, if you don't mind, I think we touched on it a little bit. Soul care means being honest with yourself and truly being able to look in the mirror and love you as God loves you, as imperfect or perfect you want to be. But I also think it's stating the truth. And once you start being truthful to yourself and to others, it's very powerful. And I think that speaking truth to power is extremely important as a woman. And like I said in the beginning, you'll be told that it's not right, or your husband's going to down you for believing quantum physics.
The proof of God.
Which I'll talk to him if you want me to. But yeah, you have to wake up in the morning, and I really think this works. Is I'm going to have a great day. I have the power to make my day. I have the power to let people, not have my day. It's up to me. And I think seek people that could be mentors. Seek people that are ahead of the journey than you are, which is what I've done all my life. Is I've always gone to people and asked for their impressions. I seek counsel a lot if I'm struggling with something very difficult. We should for a community around us, but more importantly, I think we have to be truth tellers. And I think a lot of times, especially women, and I don't want to bag on women, is that we try to please people too much.
Yeah.
And I think that's the shift that we need to make. Is like, okay, I always tell people, put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and like in a plane, and then the person next to you. We have to be healthy, or we can't help others. And
so I have a question for you. Will you coach me right now?
Okay.
So I had a challenge a couple of weeks ago, not telling the truth. I have a dear friend who I love, and this person came to one of my mastermind retreats, and I wanted this person to be a sales rep for me and make some phone calls for people who registered for my free course, and then say, do you want to set up a call with Lisa J, see how she can help you further. I decided not to hire her for my own personal reasons. I had conversations with some other people, and I just decided as a businesswoman not to hire her. I didn't tell her the truth. I told her I decided not to hire a salesperson. Then she found out that I hired somebody else, and it hurt her deeply. What's your coaching to that? Cindy, why couldn't I just tell her the truth? I didn't want to hurt her feelings. Why can't I just tell people the truth? Why are we so afraid of me? I'll just talk about me. Why am I afraid to tell someone the truth? Why am I not valuing my truth? I'm hiding my truth because I want to take care of other people, or I don't want to hurt other people, or I do it a lot.
It's not a classic. I think I first tell people, take the long view. She found out that you hired someone else. So you play it out. I mean, take the long view. It's a three-dimensional thinking. If I make this chess move, and I hate to say this, a lot of people played checkers, but I played chess. And I play three-dimensional chess. You do not want to mess with me. I take the long view. I take 4 or 5 steps further and say, how is this decision going to be played out, and how is it going to affect everyone concerned? Because a lot of times I think we self-sabotage by saying, oh, we take the easy way out. Oh, I don't want to hurt that person. But it's also the person needs to hear that, hey, you're not qualified, and these are the reasons why. I try to hit things head on constantly in my position. Okay, so you went out of this. Okay, well, what is that? What is that going to mean in 5 years? What is that going to do to this relationship? What is that? So you can make the decision, but I want you to know clearly the ramifications by the time you leave me of what is going to happen. So you have thought it through. And I think most of us are people pleasers. We don't want to hurt people's feelings, but who's it hurting ultimately? Us. So I always say, out of love, we have to tell that person that this isn't the right situation. Especially in an abusive, you weren't an abusive, but I always people say, oh, we have to love our neighbor. No. Out of love, you tell the person no, and say, I hope you understand I'm doing this out of love, because you need to learn not to be abusive. And I'm going to put up my shield and say, you can't do that. So I always say to people, you actually hurt a person a lot of times if you don't speak truth. Now, it's your truth, and they can disagree. But most of the time, if you come from your gut, again, your heart, you say, I don't want to hurt your feelings. I'm really struggling with this, but I just don't think it's the right thing for me right now. But yeah, I think I give you permission to kind of think the long view. I always tell everyone, take the longer view. Don't just like patch it up right now in front of you because you're busy. Have a cup of tea or whatever and say, how am I going to approach this? Long view.
Okay. Good coaching. I received that.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good. I'm even working on that with my staff members. I went from 3 staff members to 11 staff members. We can talk about staff members, Cindy. You can give us some coaching with that.
That's a big jump.
Wow. And I had to take a course. I actually hired a coach and took a leadership course on how to move a staff in the same direction. I didn't know I was so bad at it until I started doing it. And yeah, I'm getting better because I took this course and I have a coach. Now this is a mindset. I actually purchased a card for myself that said, to the best boss ever. Because when I bought that card 3 months ago, I was not the best boss ever, but I'm intentional. I'm committed. I want to get good at this. And I acknowledge that I wasn't. So I do the work to get really good at it so that I can receive that card one day in all integrity that I'm a really good boss now. And that took realizing I wasn't a good boss 3 months ago and hiring a coach and taking a class around it. Can you give us some thoughts or advice, coaching around managing staff well?
Well, I think you did exactly what I said, is you surround yourself with other successful people. You surround yourself with mentors. You surround yourself with people that are farther along on the journey. And, I think there's some natural talent, but there's learned talent also. And I think that people really like managers that are truthful and they don't have to guess where they're at. What am I in, the bottom line, I think my staff knows that, I'm going to call you on your stuff, but I'm going to love you through it. And I always say to them at the end of every meeting, what do I need to do, or what do we need to do to make you successful this week? What tools do you need? So basically they know that I'm there to support them. I also let them know that, hey, if you want my job, you can have it. It's like, my job is to let you have my job, so there's no threat. I mean, I'm not threatened by you. But I do really demand performance. And we all, know that if I come in and say I need to talk, that, it's basically, this went wrong, or this, is falling apart. I don't think we're thinking it through. Again, that 3-dimensional thinking. Every decision you make has an ancillary effect, and the long view. But coaching is basically, you have to be organized yourself. You have to give people time. And a lot of times when you hire someone, you're backtracking because you have to train them, and then you get behind on your own schedule, and then it becomes so overwhelming. So you kind of have to have the idea of short-term pain for long-term gain. And I don't drag people out if they're the wrong fit. I mean, and kind of in a, when I was a corporate woman, it was ministry, and you got to be softer, and then I'll just say, hey, I'm putting my business hat on right now.
Yeah. That's good.
My heads up, this is my contractor speaking right now. But you have to surround yourself. What you did is get help, mentors, be able to have a group around you that you can go to and say, hey, this is my issue right now. What do you think? I mean, I have people I still call and say, I'm not sure what to do here. Other priests,
And I'll add this is what I started doing too. When my kids were little, I would tell them, I've never been a mom to a 5-year-old.
Right.
And then they were 13. Ariana, I've never been a mom to a 13-year-old daughter.
That's good.
And then she's 19. Ariana, I know, yeah.
Right.
And so I started doing that with my staff. I've never had a staff of 11. So have patience with me, pour grace over me. I'm doing the best I can. And I get it that I don't acknowledge some things that I know we need to work on, because I get it. You're supposed to like sandwich the complaint. All I did was have the 2 sandwich pieces and not the meat.
Yeah.
But then I would fester with resentment behind their back. Talk about passive aggressive. I totally called myself out on it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get good at sharing what didn't work.
Yeah. Well, I also think, ask them what they need. Ask them, I always say, are you I'll even pass their office and say, how are you doing? What's anything I need to know? Do you need to talk? They love that. No, I'm good. All right. No, I do need to talk to you, And then I think a lot of times it's, if that resentment is building up, which, it's just natural, you're overwhelmed. I think it's really important though, as a boss, supervisor, manager, that you don't share your personal life with them. I think it's basically they're looking to you just for leadership, not to get caught into any drama. I mean, I even try to my cat needs to go to the vet, and he's like, I'm really worried about him. I'm like, oh, put on a face, and that can't enter in right now. That's over here. That's the other thing I think it's important to talk about, Lisa, is compartmentalization. I don't think that a lot of people are good at that. And I really, I'll just say to people, okay, can you put that in that basket? And when that pops up in your brain, when I get home, I can do that, Saturday. But compartmentalization is a real vital key to good management, is that you have to go in, you're the leader, you got to act like a leader and a manager, and you can't, you can't be weak. I mean, you can't. I mean, like if terrible something happened, but I mean, bottom line is.
I hear you. In fact, I want to
leadership.
I want to acknowledge what you just said, because I have 4 pads of paper here every time I sit down to work, and I compartmentalize the 4 aspects of my business. And when I'm on a coaching call and an idea comes to me, I know exactly which writing pad to write that down. When I have a challenge, I know exactly which of the 4. Look at, they're already, this is just from today. Because that's how I can do so much. This is my secret to productivity, is compartmentalizing, and it's not stored right here. It's stored right here.
Yeah.
So a little mindset reset tip for our listeners, our audience, but also strategic approach. Just get more organized.
Yeah.
How can you be more organized? My idea is just have 4 pads of paper, or just 2. Start with just 2, and 2 topics that you're working on in your goals or your business development, your business growth. And when ideas come, write them down. When challenges are right there in the forefront, but you don't have time to manage them because you're on a coaching call with someone, or you're whatever you're doing, time doesn't prevail it, write it down. And like Cindy just said, compartmentalize so that you can have that cup of tea and contemplate it properly. Be the chess player fully and give your goals, dreams, and challenges the time they deserve. Give them the time they deserve.
Yeah, I think it's really important to let the vision grow, and the answers will come. It doesn't mean we sit around and lofty cloud. But it is being intentional, and then allowing the spirit, your heart, to talk to you. It's where the spirit dwells, and I think we have more answers than we think. I'm always find it interesting that people come to talk, and they really do know the answers. They really do, and they just need affirmation. Yeah, I think you got this. And then just being able to say it out loud and in a safe environment is really important too.
It's huge. That's what you do, Cindy. I love that. And I feel that's what I do too. As a life coach, as a business coach, I always say who I really am is the space of other people's greatness.
That's nice. That's lovely.
So before I let you go, I want to keep talking. It's just so, we'll have to have you back.
Okay.
It's just such a rich and juicy conversation. I'm learning so much from our conversation as well. But I do want to talk about how do we manage a really difficult circumstance. Cindy, people come to me in my mindset coaching, and they're recreating themselves because they're lost. Either they lost a job, they lost a spouse, they lost a dream, they lost confidence, and they're overwhelmed. And they come to me to help them get back on track and to build belief in themselves, to boost their confidence, and then they can create that clear path. Whether it's a strategic plan or any idea or any goal brought to fruition. But first, the underbelly of creating that strategic plan is managing a lost dream, managing a lost vision, dealing with a difficult circumstance. And maybe we're suppressing it. That's called oppression, people. We all do it. We got to stop suppressing and oppressing these circumstances. You're mad at that person and you haven't cleared it up with them. I'm speaking to the audience, not you, Cindy. The audience, you're angry with someone and you haven't cleaned it up with them. You're oppressing those emotions. Believe me, my friend, it's coming out. So you're suppressing or oppressing a circumstance that really hurt you. And you haven't managed it or dealt with it or dissolved it with a mindset coach or dissolved it with your therapist or your reverend. It's affecting you, people. It is. It's affecting you. So Cindy, how do we give our audience permission to delve into that ugly part, that difficult circumstance? And maybe you have a story of how you too had to deal with somebody who betrayed you or somebody who made fun of you. I don't know, like what happened in your life that was really difficult for you that you had to deal with before you could move forward in your occupation, in your care for others, and in your calling?
Well, first of all, let me deal with grief, because you can't away. And it comes in waves, and if you've lost someone, just know that it's okay, but you can't get stuck. And so I would say that you have to move through grief and in a healthy way, and you need help to do that. That's very helpful and powerful to have someone that can help you move through it. Someone that maybe a support group or a person, but grief is a real interesting thing. And grief can be over a loss of a job, a loss of a marriage, blah, blah, blah. But generally, if there's a death, it's the worst. It just can't be cheated. You have to move through it, and it takes time. Difficult situations for me have arisen in that, as a priest, and I'm not saying this goes for the general public, but I always have to take the high road, right? So it's really hard to swallow sometimes. But what I really do is everyone's a child of God and has a backstory. And what I realize is that their backstory isn't my story. And I have to realize that they're acting out or they're hurting me or the oppression is really about them. And then it squares me up with, okay, who am I? And I address it front on with, I'm not them. And I'm gonna just not be abused. I'm not gonna be taking verbal or whatever. But I just basically put up very strong boundaries, and then I work on myself. So I would just say that the people that have been crushed or hurt have to find hope, and they have to get help to sort out what is them and what is that thing. And a lot of times just having someone listen to you and help you process through the reality of things, what you're imagining, what your childhood has brought to the table, and that lens you're looking through could be part of the hurt. Or you're in a place where it repeatedly happens. Why are you kind of like that lightning rod? Some people say I keep picking the same type of person. I'm like, well, why are you picking that same type of person?
We are our own common denominator.
Yeah, and I think that the outside influences, though, I don't want people to be afraid to be in community with people. But it is a different world. I mean, it's much, we know our country is divided. We know that we got a lot of social media coming at us. We have a lot of, information we have to process in a day. And my whole thing is, you have to stop. You have to stop and really work on yourself and work on these fears or hurts, because they're not going to go away. That you have to process them, and generally you need help. It's very different from me pondering things in my heart, knowing that I have a call in my life, or I knew. It's very different than that. This is like, okay, I have this obstacle, I've had this thing happen, or something hurt. It's that I always tell people, don't go it alone. Don't go it alone, ever. We need each other.
Yeah, we need each other. I'm going to share a mindset reset shift for our listeners today, and that is when you are holding a circumstance, a negative circumstance, a betrayal, a loss of a dream, any pain that you're holding, I want you to do this mindset shift. And I want you to create a distinction between who you are and the challenge you're dealing with.
Right.
How you do that is you just close your eyes, take several deep breaths, and turn your challenge, that betrayal, that pain, that circumstance, that failure, that loss, turn it into a smoky purple color and allow it to move out of you and over there in that side of the room, and open your eyes and look at it. And that is what there is to manage, but it's not you. So step number one in dissolving angst within our nervous system, our brain, our hearts, our souls, our essence, is that we create a distinction between what happened to us and who we are. Because who you are, as Cindy just said, a child of the King, a child of God, pure light, created in the image.
Right.
And so when you can create that distinction, now you're not a victim. You are a victor, more than a conqueror. And you can manage that challenge, that difficulty, that circumstance, that betrayal. It's not who you are, people. So do that silly exercise for us, because it really helps. It helps your psyche to create that distinction, and then you can manage that challenge with who you are, which is pure light.
Yeah, and I would also say time is on your side. I mean, I think, again, is processing things, seeing the thing on the other side of the room, like you say, is very healthy. It's that realizing that you don't have to carry it. I would say give it to God. It's kind of a cliche, but I think it's...
So how do we give it to God, Reverend Cindy? What does it look like? So here's someone, they're listening to us right now, and they are burdened, and they just tried that exercise, and they're like, even that didn't work. How do they give it to God? What does it look like?
Yeah, I think that's probably the tricky. For me, it's easy to say, can you just come to church and sit in the back pew? Can you just let the music go into your body and out. Inhale, exhale, take communion, we call it Eucharist. But my whole thing is the be in a place, maybe that would be a great way of saying it. Be in a place where it feeds you. And, maybe it's music, maybe it's your pets, maybe it's going for a walk, maybe it's Colorado, the view. You have to get silent. You have to be able to just surrender to the thing that's happening and realize that time will heal and time will take care of a lot of our stuff. It's amazing to me how, yes, you have some mechanics, you may have to, go pay your rent. I don't know, but it's amazing once we open our heart up, how the answers come. And how God kind of sends the rescue team. I can't even put it any other way.
No, that's beautiful. Say it again. God will send a rescue team.
It happens. It's always that, and people will tell you that in their stories all the time. I don't know how that happened, but I was sitting there and this person walked in. I'm always amazed to hear people's stories that, I fell into this. I'm like, oh, did you fall into that? Or was that really, a God moment?
Yeah.
And I'll say,
one of my coaches shared with me, I've heard him, Kyle Cease, he shares this on platforms with thousands of people in the audience. He says, everything always works out for you. Don't we say, everything always seems to work out for me. What if we lived from that belief every moment? Mm-hmm. The first time I heard him say that, I'm like, that is the most powerful mindset reset. Let's just live from the faith. Let's just live from the space, from the belief of everything always works out for me. It doesn't feel like it right now. I feel weak. I feel less than. I feel broken. I've been betrayed. I've tried even that mindset exercise but everything, what if we just lived from the truth, from the faith, from the trust of everything always works out for me. This too shall pass. Everything always works out for me. Live from that space. Because would you agree, Cindy? So many people say that, but then their life doesn't represent that, or their peace within doesn't represent that. So let's really take that on, audience, that we will give ourselves permission to say those words and to believe it, that our life looks like we believe it. Things work out for me. I'm divinely guided. This too shall pass. What did you say? The rescuers are coming.
Yeah.
The rescuers are coming.
So I just had an incoming.
Incoming.
In the family, it was always said to me, 99% of what you're worrying about will never come to fruition. And it's guided me so much in my life. It's like, 99% of what I'm worried about never comes to fruition. As long as we're present in our life and we're really aware, we are alert. Yeah, I again go take the long view. Really, is that really going to happen? Probably not. And that has really been a guidepost for me that I have to take the long view, but 99% of the time, I really don't have to worry about it. It works itself out. So.
Yeah, that's great. That's beautiful. I truly believe that. And I think our listeners do too. So let's give ourselves permission to believe that. And those are just called declarations in Mindset Reset. We declare it. And then really the declaration does the work. Oh, here we go. Nerdy quantum mechanics again. Are you ready? The power of a spoken word literally recreates matter, M-A-T-T-E-R. It literally alchemizes physical matter, the power of words. So we collectively, all of our listeners, our audience, Reverend Cindy and Lisa J right here, we collectively speak. This too shall pass. I'm divinely guided. All things work out for me. 99% of the things I'm worrying about will never come to fruition. I choose to be more peaceful. I choose to cultivate my faith. I choose to rely on hope. I choose to, what else, Reverend Cindy? What other declaration can we speak here to really grow this quantum mechanics practice?
I go back to Julian of Norwich, and she was a nun in the medieval times, and she always said, all shall be well, all shall be well, all matter of things shall be well. And I have meditated on that too. It is quantum, right? It is putting it out there that you're going to be okay, that all things are going to come to you that you need to fulfill your call in life. And we're all called in different ways to do good in the world. We're supposed to be bringing in the good and not the evil. So I think if we just focus on what is good, what good can I do today? In fact, I think it's the number one healing aspect for people is to look beyond themselves and see, how can I help someone today? You always feel good when you help someone. So outside yourself, a good way to start healing is to go out and do something that will help someone else. So
Beautiful. Love that. And if you, our listeners, are in a place where you don't feel that you have a healing or any stuck energy around that, then how about this mindset reset? Are you ready? I am called to grow from one higher level to the next. I am called to grow from one brighter level to the next. That's truth and that's scripture. What if we lived like we really believed that? Instead of saying, oh my gosh, my life, it's so good right now. I'm afraid something might happen. I'm afraid, the other shoe will drop, or those crazy sayings like, I'm just too blessed, or things are happening too well. I know that's not the norm with our listeners, but there are some people right now who are creating undue angst because their life is good. How about saying, I'm so grateful for my life and I am called to grow from one brighter level to the next. And that's scripture. So for you that you're in that position, just count your blessings. And here's my favorite mantra that I speak every morning. And mantras are prayers. They create matter. And it is, may you bless others through me. May you bless others through me. Because who gets the blessing? If God's going to bless someone through me, who gets to be the channel of that blessing? Me. So may another mindset reset mantra be, may God bless others through me. May God bless others through me.
lovely.
Thank you, Reverend Cindy. You are amazing. You really are. You are quite the force. And I love your intellect. I love the way you communicate. I love the way you think. And I love your heart that you have this calling. And you are actually helping so many, even right now on this 1-hour interview. So thank you for saying yes, and we'll have you back on again. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, we'll have Reverend Cindy back again, you guys. Thanks for listening today, and we'll see you next time on Mindset Reset with Lisa J. Bye for now. Ready to learn a formula to help you stop being stuck in fear and level up your productivity? To go from being overwhelmed to a high performer? To turn your scarcity mindset into an abundance magnet? Then you want to come to the Mastermind Retreat in Tuscany, Italy. You'll enjoy 6 magical days immersed in the beauty, the culture, the richness of the Tuscan countryside, Florence and Siena and San Gimignano. You'll mastermind with other like-minded people in a 13th century castle as you apply my Mindset Reset formula to recreate yourself, your business, and your life. There's only 2 spots left. Get registered today at lisajcoaching.com/retreats. And I'll see you in Tuscany.